Hello, Congressman Blumenauer. Thank you so much for joining us at the University of Oregon today and your great keynote that you gave at the law school. Just have a couple of questions for you. Maybe can you start off with telling us a little bit about your report on the path forward and rethinking the federal policy on marijuana?
We developed an overview of where we are with marijuana in the United States now, some of the history, past laws, changes that have taken place, because it seemed to me that it was important to really be able to take a step back and look at what's happened over the last 40 years. I was actually in the Oregon legislature when we voted to be the first state in America to decriminalize marijuana. And over the years, we've watched medical marijuana come forward. This last fall, we had 2 states vote to legalize adult use of marijuana. And now, for the first time in history, a majority of the American public thinks it should be legal. We wanted to have a picture that people could use to sort of give them a sense of the state of play. It's available on my website, and would encourage people to take a look at it and see what they think.
Okay, great. So when do you believe that the first conversations about legalizing marijuana in the U.S. actually started taking place and making a movement or suggestions?
Well, whether or not marijuana should be legal has actually been a long-standing issue. Marijuana used to be legal. From the moment that we passed the Controlled Substances Act in 1970, that classified marijuana as a Schedule I drug that actually worse, arguably, than cocaine and meth, and had no medicinal features, people have been debating that.
What are some of the biggest barriers that we face in, legalizing marijuana in the U.S. again?
Well, right now, people are conflicted. There are deep concerns about the impact that this has on young teenagers, junior high students, and they should. There's evidence that really marijuana, particularly for the adolescent brain that is still developing, can really be very damaging. There are questions about whether this will lead to other drugs, gateway drugs. These are legitimate issues that people should be looking at, but I think to a certain extent it's kind of beside the point. I've never visited a community where people didn't think that a junior high student couldn't get marijuana any time of the day or night in an hour.
Right.
Never. And the situation we face right now is that there is no framework that enables us to deal with it in a meaningful fashion. We are enriching drug cartels, and we're criminalizing behavior that a majority of Americans think should be legal. And so we've got to work through this. But I think over the course of the next 2 to 4 years, the American public is going to come down very solidly in letting the states do what they want. And most people think the states should legalize marijuana.
Right, and so what do you think is the federal government's biggest issue with granting power to the individual states?
Well, part of it is that they're just caught up in this long-standing, over 4-decade-old policy that misclassifies marijuana. But there's a lot of time and energy that's invested in it. There are people that are doing time in jail for it, and there is 2 generations of people that are just say no to drugs that are heavily invested. In fact, the federal government doesn't even make it legal to do research on the therapeutic aspects of marijuana. So we've got to break this notion where we're kind of frozen in time, have a broader view, and get more people involved with the discussion.
And so what do you think some of the benefits that if it does get legalized, the benefits for the citizens and for the government and the United States as a whole?
Well, were we to allow states to legalize marijuana, we could stop incarcerating. I mean, 2/3 people arrested for doing something that almost half Americans over 18 have tried, and which a majority thinks should be legal. That's expensive. We have a situation now where all the profits, and there is a lot of profit in the marijuana business, all go with the exception of what happens with medical marijuana, all the illicit drug money goes to crooks, cartels, where we lose revenue, where we are corrupting foreign countries and we are criminalizing behavior that really shouldn't be. So I think this is a step towards saving money, actually getting some money that we could spend on drug treatment and education,
Right.
and stop distorting the justice because it has very unequal application in terms of who gets arrested for marijuana use.
With states such as Colorado and Washington that were recently passed for the use of marijuana for adults, for them being states similar and close to Oregon with that had a similar ballot measure, that was passed last November, are you surprised that Oregon passed or did not pass, and why or why not?
Well, I think if you read the Oregon proposal that was on the ballot, it raised more questions than it settled. And there's no doubt in my mind that if we had been voting on either the Washington bill or the Colorado bill, it would have passed in Oregon. And that's what's important now, for people to kind of do the due diligence to have a good, solid proposal that people feel comfortable with and doesn't raise those questions. And if we do that, I'm confident in the next 4 or 5 years, Oregon will legalize as well, along with California, and then the game will be over.
All right, well, great. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure.